It will be some form of an insanity defense for the sheriff in Kentucky. It has to be. The whole thing is caught on video before, during, and after. We see everything that the sheriff did that day to the judge inside the chambers. It's clear. It's crystal clear. There is no audio for these videos. And that's where we get into the defense. That's where you get into the defense. The defense is nestled in what we don't know about what happened to the judge. What was said? What were the words coming out of the sheriff's mouth? What do they reveal about his state of mind, which is everything in this case, which is absolutely everything inside this case? What was happening in the days leading up to that? How did he appear directly afterwards? What was he saying? What was he doing? It will be an insanity defense. It'll be in front of the folks in Letcher County, Kentucky, where all this happened. The place where folks elected Mickey Steins as the sheriff. So this is everything. You know, what the why of it is everything, but the why of it lives within the confines of some level of a mental breakdown. One thing you have to understand, legal insanity is different than mental health problems. One is a medical term, mental health problem, issue. You have a medical diagnosis. Insanity is a legal term. It's a standard. It's a legal standard. So you could have mental health problems yet still not be legally insane. But you can have mental health problems and be legally insane. It's completely separate. Separate proof, separate standard. So that's what we're going to talk about here, the Kentucky Sheriff and the Insanity Defense. The reason I want to talk about it is tonight on my show, Vinnie Politan Investigates, 9 o'clock, for 1 hour, you will know a lot more about this as the sheriff's lawyer joins me live, one-on-one for 1 hour. That is tonight on CourtTV on Vinnie Politan Investigates, 9 o'clock tonight. In the meantime, we'll get you ready for that show tonight here on Vinnie Live.
Get ready, get set, let's go.
It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's Vinnie Live. It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's Vinnie Live. Get ready. So post inside the chat. Get ready for the prosecutor hat. Get set. To like and to subscribe, let's go. It's time for Vinnie Live.
Great to have everyone aboard today. It's a Tuesday. We're getting ready. This case is something else. Something else. We've been uncovering a lot of video on my shows on CourtTV. And we've been able to track a lot of the movements, a lot of things that were happening that day. And it's fascinating to take a look at. But it's going to be all about the state of mind of the sheriff, which comes down to why did he do it? And when I say why can be interpreted two different ways. Why can be a motive for prosecutors, while why can be an explanation for what happened. Not a justification, but an explanation. And that's what legal insanity is. It's an explanation as to what happened. And that's also why did this happen. Now, let's put this up on the screen. Oh, I have to do this first. Jennifer Lego, thank you so much. I'm here to see Al. Hello to Vinnie and Jonesy and all the cool mods. Jennifer, you're going to be incredibly disappointed today because it's just me. It's just me today. Alan Jonesy on Fridays. I know I missed your super the other day, so we will be sure to spend some time this Friday, some alone time, just Jennifer and Al. But in the meantime, thank you so much, Jennifer Lego. Appreciate it. Great to have you aboard today. There will be no Al today. He was on my show last night on CourtTV. So if you DVR it, you can watch that again. But we'll see him on Friday. Thank you so much, Jennifer Lego. Okay, so let's dive into something that's extremely important in all this, and that is insanity in Kentucky. A person is not responsible for criminal conduct. So this is a complete defense. This means you come back and you say not guilty, not saying guilty to a lesser offense. You are saying not guilty to the top offense and guilty to a lesser offense. That's a possibility here as well. But this is the complete not guilty. We call it NGRI, not guilty by reason of insanity. A person is not responsible for criminal conduct if at the time of such conduct as a result of mental disease or defect. That's the medical part of this, right? That's the medical part. Okay, you have a mental disease or defect. Okay, so you need an expert to come in and tell the jury about that. What is the mental disease? What is the defect? What is happening? And what's challenging for an expert is you have to be a forensic psychologist or psychiatrist, because you have to take the information that you have and go and travel back in time to determine this mental disease or defect, okay? Which is one part of it, right? It's more than that, but that is one part of it. So you've got to travel back in time and figure out at the time of the crime, okay? Legal insanity has nothing to there can be some crossover, but the mental state of the defendant at the time of trial is irrelevant to legal insanity, because by the time they get to trial, they should be okay, because they need to be deemed competent to stand trial and understand what's going on and not be suffering from this disease or defect at the time of the trial. But this is all about the time of the crime. So a forensic expert will look at any and all information, including a forensic examination of the defendant himself. Okay, so there'll be an interview of the defendant, where it's a sit down and talk, and sometimes it could be multiple sessions to try to uncover and peel back where this defendant was, what they're saying about where they are, and to make sure that they are not pretending to suffer from a mental disease or defect, malingering. So you've got to make sure that they're not a malingerer, and you've got to diagnose some sort of mental disease or defect that they had back at the time of the crime. That's one part of what an expert needs to do for a successful defense, okay? The next part of this, so you've got to identify this mental disease or defect, okay? And I said there's a difference, right? Mental disease, defect, that is sort of a medical diagnosis, right? That is not legal insanity per se. It is a part of it, right? So there has to be suffering from some sort of mental disease or defect at the time. And at the time, as a result of this disease or defect, he lacks substantial capacity, all right? Substantial capacity, the ability, okay? The ability, lacking substantial capacity, lacking the ability to, one, appreciate the criminality or wrongfulness of his conduct. This is the old version of this was you can't tell the difference between right or wrong. So this is another way of saying that. It's not really different. It's worded differently, but it's sort of the same concept, that you could not appreciate the wrongfulness of your conduct. You could not distinguish between right and wrong at the time of the crime. So you don't appreciate that what you're doing is actually wrong. Now, the example I use all the time, of when this is successfully used at trial in front of a jury, right? Andrea Yates thought she was saving her children when she was actually ending their lives. She thought she was saving them from Satan when she was actually ending their lives. Classic example of not appreciating the wrongfulness of what you're doing. So this is why in cases where people claim legal insanity and they flee the scene or they cover up their crime, that is evidence, and I would argue very strong evidence, that they did know what they were doing was wrong at the time. If they didn't think it was wrong, why would they cover it up? If they didn't think it was wrong, why would they flee? There you go. Andrea Yates did not flee. She stayed. We'll talk about the sheriff in a minute. I just want to work through this definition. The other part of this, there's an or. Okay, in the law, if there's an or, then there means that there's two ways, two different modes of proving the element that you need to prove, that you need to demonstrate. Okay, so it's lacking the ability or substantial capacity to appreciate the criminality of the conduct, right? What I thought I was doing was right. Or to conform his conduct to the requirements of law, where the mental disease or defect takes you over to the point where you can't help yourself from doing it. It's like the irresistible impulse, they used to call it. Okay? So two different ways under Kentucky law to demonstrate the lack of responsibility for the criminal conduct. So they're admitting that, yes, he did it. It's not who did it, did he do it? He did it. The question is, why? Was he suffering? Was it a result of a mental disease or defect? And as a result, he lacked substantial capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness or criminality of the conduct, or substantial capacity to appreciate or conform his conduct to the requirements of law. I can't help myself. I couldn't stop myself from doing it because of this disease or defect. And sometimes one or the other or both can arguably apply in a situation. Now, what's interesting, and this is what you also need to know about legal insanity. People say, it never works. It never works. Here's why it never works. Because we're only looking at insanity in the context of a criminal trial in front of a jury. Okay? There are thousands of defendants around this country who have been found not guilty by reason of insanity, but not after a trial. It's after they've been evaluated by an expert for the defense and the prosecution, and they agree. It's almost like a plea agreement of insanity. It's slightly different, but it's a case where both sides agree. Yeah, I agree. Because my job as a prosecutor is not just to convict, it's to do justice and get to the truth. And if the truth is, all the experts are saying this person did not, did not or lacked the capacity to conform their conduct or appreciate the criminality. If both sides agree, then a ethical prosecutor will then go into court with the defense and together enter this information in front of the judge to get a judgment of, it'll be not guilty by reason of insanity. It doesn't mean the person just walks out of the courtroom. It means the judge still has jurisdiction in controlling this defendant, but they're not sent to prison. They get treatment, whether it's inpatient, long-term, or outpatient, whatever it is, and it often changes over the course of time. And then the test there becomes when are they no longer a danger to themselves or others, and then they are set free. Okay, so they're not indeterminate sentences; they don't go on forever. Usually, in most cases, at some point, they are set free. Andrea Yates has kept herself confined, despite what some of the treating physicians are saying there. So now we have sort of the foundation for legal insanity. Now you have to apply it to this case and try to figure it out. Now, again, tonight, 9 o'clock on my show, I'm going to get a lot more information. We have pieces, right? But we need to fill in some of the blanks to fully understand the allegations relative to the mental disease or defect being suffered by the sheriff. What do we know? And what have I been saying from the beginning? From the beginning, I said, and you can go back and check the videos, if this was someone from the outside who came in and took out the judge and then afterwards said, they're trying to get my wife and my kid, I would say that person's insane. Maybe not legally insane. That person's suffering from a mental disease or defect, clearly. And then after an evaluation, could likely, I mean, to me, that's what the case is about. Because if someone comes in there, what do you mean the judge is trying to get your wife and your kid? To me, that just smacks on its face of delusional thinking, paranoia, delusional thinking. Right? If it was a complete stranger from the outside, someone came in. Who was that? What was he saying? He was saying the judge was trying to keep him away from his wife and his child. That doesn't make sense. That sounds like someone who's a little bit, unfortunately, not feeling so well mentally. And why is it any different for the sheriff? Well, maybe we looked at it different because the sheriff for a couple of reasons. One, he's the sheriff. But then number two, the phone call. We looked at that phone call when he's in the chambers with the judge. Prior to this, we heard testimony that he attempted to call his daughter, then attempted to call his daughter from the judge's phone. Why is he calling his daughter? And that's what happens just before he takes out the judge. So all of us said, obviously connected. But then everything we said about the judge and, people were talking, well, maybe the judge is doing something with his daughter, with his teenage daughter. No, that's not it. That's not it. That was denied by coming from several different directions very quickly, that none of that was true. But then we got to understand something else that was happening, right? But it's connected. It's connect. Like, we have all the pieces. We just don't have the thread, the common thread to go through all of them. And what I'm trying to do here is piece together the delusion or the alleged delusion, right? He could just be really mad and wants to take him out, and it could be a motive, right? Why can be two things. Why can be the motive, or why can be the explanation of what's happening mentally to the sheriff. So in this video, I'm not looking at it from the prosecution's perspective. I'm looking at it from, we've learned that this is going to be an insanity defense. So what is the basis or the proposed basis of it? I'm not saying I'm buying it. I'm not saying that I'm not buying it. I'm just saying, what is it that the argument is going to be? What is it based upon? What is this story, this narrative that is running through the sheriff's mind that brings him to a place where he has to take out the judge? And did you notice how I just said that has to take him out, right? That's that cannot conform his conduct. What pushes him to that he has no other option but needs to take out the judge? Why is that? Well, what have we heard from his defense attorney already? We heard about, and he was asked directly about this, and he'll be asked again tonight on my show. But I've got an hour with him, not just a moment standing outside of the courthouse. Zuko's excited about the show tonight too. You can hear him. Always during the show. Always during the show. He's such a ham. So we heard little pieces like that's a piece of this bigger picture. Okay. What was going on? The lawsuit, the deposition. Ned Pilsdorf, who's been on my show countless times covering this story. His firm suing the sheriff for the sextortion that was taking place. One of the deputies, who was the bailiff for the judge, so he's connected to the judge and he's connected to the sheriff, criminally prosecuted for extorting sex from an inmate in order to, in lieu of payment for the ankle monitoring. So she was on ankle monitoring. When you're on that and you're not, instead of being locked up, you have a monitor, you have to pay for it. She didn't have money, and she was extorted into paying with something else. Okay? That deputy was criminally prosecuted for that, but it's also a civil rights lawsuit. And the sheriff was deposed just a couple days before all of this. And it is a part of it. So you put together that lawsuit and the phone call to the daughter. What's going on? Well, what may be going on here is not just that the sheriff is under some pressure here. Now, remember, the sheriff was also, prior to being the sheriff, was a deputy and was a bailiff for this judge. So they have some history that goes back in time. You put those pieces together, and now all of a sudden you've got to be wondering, okay, well, still, what does the daughter have to do with it? And then the statement that is made references the daughter and his wife, his family. So somehow in this delusional state, the judge was coming between the sheriff and his family. Right? We put those pieces together. They fit. All right? Judge, you're trying to keep me or take my family from me, keep my family away from me. To get my family back, I need to take you out. And that's either I can't control myself from doing that because I love my family so much, and I know in my mind that you are the reason why they are in danger. That's the sheriff's delusion at work, at play, right? Inside his mind. Building up the pressure from the lawsuit. So what's going on with the judge? Well, this sextortion was taking place in the judge's chambers. And this was one victim. There were at least two. Were there more? What does the sheriff know about it? Is the judge involved? Does the sheriff have information that could take down the judge? Does the judge believe the sheriff has that information? In the sheriff's delusion, does he have all the information that's going to take everybody down? And oh my goodness, they're going to take my family to protect themselves in this civil lawsuit that could turn into a criminal prosecution? Like, is this all part of the delusion that it's play? To me, that's seems like where we're going with all this. Again, tonight at 9, you're going to get a lot more details from the sheriff's lawyer who's going to join me live on Vinnie Investigates CourtTV tonight. All right, a slight delay in starting today because my blood sugar crashed. It's starting to climb again, but then what happens when it climbs? It goes too high. Because when you're in a low, you start to panic. All right, so does that kind of make sense? Kind of laying out, I think that's where this whole thing is going to land. In an insanity defense, that this delusion is at play, and he is just mentally deteriorating. Now, there's other little actions in between that are kind of strange that we've noticed, we've picked up in the videos. One, this lunch meeting. Well, first, they're in the chambers before lunch, and the sheriff's in there. There's a few other people and the judge. And then when it's time for lunch, they're all going to the street side bar and grill, which is just a 5-minute walk down the street. But the sheriff goes by himself, and the judge goes with kind of the rest of the crew, both going there and coming back. And then we heard testimony that there was some sort of a conversation at lunch where the judge said, should we have a private meeting? Is that the sheriff verbalizing what's going on in his head and starting to get a little accusatory? Does he seem like he's a little off? And he's saying things, and the judge is like, oh, wait a minute. I don't think we should say this here. You know, this public place with all these people. I'm the judge, you're the sheriff. Let's have a private meeting about this. Mickey, let's figure this out. And then they had that private meeting. But before the private meeting, the sheriff is gone for a couple hours. But when he comes back to the courthouse, he sort of circles the courthouse a couple times, which is weird. Why is he circling the courthouse just beforehand? He's the sheriff. I'm sure he's got his own parking spot that he uses all the time. But some bizarre behavior there as well. We've got video of him walking in, but it doesn't seem like he's totally on edge. And that's the strange thing when you look at all the video from the day. Like, he's by himself, which is really the only thing of note that seems out of the ordinary, right? If a bunch of guys and workers all from the courthouse know each other for years, are going to lunch, why is the sheriff going by himself? Well, maybe he has an appointment. Maybe he has to do something beforehand. It could be an innocent explanation for it. Or it could be that he's just a little off. He's not comfortable with everyone. I don't know. Hopefully we find out tonight some more of those details. But once they said insanity defense, now the other part of this is, right, how does this play in a trial? How do you prove this delusion? Well, this, if he has this delusional behavior, though, it's grounded in something that is real. This sextortion scandal is real. And is the judge actually connected to it? I don't know. Did the judge know? I don't know. But while trying to explain the sheriff's state of mind and his delusions and where they come from, some of it's going to be grounded in like real facts, right? That's what usually happens, is like a real fact exists and then gets twisted a little bit and extorted and jumbled around in your mind, and it comes out in a whole different way. But for the jury to understand that, does the jury have to understand what was happening inside the judge's chambers? And will that make the victim look bad? And is another part of everything that's happening here not just an insanity defense, but an insanity defense with a little sprinkling of, there was something rotten happening in that courthouse. And Mickey's a good guy. The sheriff is a good guy. That could be part of it too. We'll see how it plays out. This is going to be, this is unlike, I mean, I've never seen anything quite like this, because everything is on video, and who the people are that are involved in all this. And you've got the story beneath the story, which was the lawsuit resulting from the sextortion scandal. And now the sheriff is on the hot seat. He was just deposed. He's been described by Ned Pillersdorf as not really, he seemed a little off. And if you've seen him in his appearances, he seems a little off as well. That something happened. Like he could have had a mental breakdown. All the pressure from this civil suit then manifests itself into some delusional paranoia, and you end up where you end up. I think that's where we're going. I think that's where it is. It's grounded in the truth of this. It's grounded in the truth of this scandal, but then is sort of elevated and distorted in the mind of the defendant, because he's feeling the pressure. This is a civil lawsuit. They're coming after me. Is this going to destroy my reputation? Like, and then the other part is, did the sheriff know about this thing? Had he turned a blind eye to it in the past himself? I don't know. Was it just a rogue deputy? Did the judge know? The sextortion scandal becomes a prominent part now of the sheriff's trial. It's the case within the case. Normally, might not come in necessarily, but if it is the basis of the sheriff's delusion, then it might come in. Now, the other part of this, I wonder if prosecutors will attempt to use it for the other why, which would be motive. That the sheriff felt like he was being singled out. It wasn't his fault. It was the judge's chambers. I had nothing to do with it. This guy's ruining my life. I'm going to take him out. Maybe that's the way they play it. But wow. So tonight, big night, 9 o'clock on Court TV. I want to get to some of your comments, your theories, everything else that's happening here. And we begin.
To get happy, it's time to get funky. It's time for us to smile, because here comes Max Spunky.
Nick Spunky popped in to say, hey, Vin, mods, and y'all. And it's perfect timing, right? It's perfect timing. We just went through this very messy factual scenario, and we just need a quick cleansing before we get to the comments. So our intermezzo, Mick Spunky, delivering once again. Thank you, Mick Spunky. Always on time and on point. All right. So as always, I am a half hour behind, and we'll scroll through and grab some random comments from here and from there. Let's see. Anita on Facebook, I can't wait till this trial. Do you think he will testify? Likely not. Likely not. It's rare in an insanity defense for the defendant to testify, and there's an advantage here that he doesn't have to testify because his statements and his story can come in front of the jury through his expert. It's one of the hearsay exceptions. So an expert can interview him, get his story, and tell his story to the jury. So I don't expect him to testify. If this was some other type of defense, I think he would have to. But because of the nature of this defense, I would not expect him to testify. It is possible. It's always his choice. But it can also be detrimental, right? If you're alleging legal insanity and now your guy, has medication, therapy, whatever, and is on much more solid footing, sometimes a defense attorney doesn't want to put that in front of the jury, right? Because, it doesn't seem insane to me. It doesn't matter what he seems like now. It's at the time that's relevant, but it could impact the jury if they see someone who is, completely invested and is making sense, right? But I guess there is a way you could make sense to explain how you weren't making sense before, but it's rare. It's rare, Anita. Thanks so much for watching. By the way, we're live streaming today on Facebook, my Twitch, my X, my YouTube, and the CourtTV YouTube. I believe we have a live stream going there as well, a simulcast. I believe that is happening as well. So welcome to everyone who's watching. Don't forget to watch tonight at 9. We will have the attorney on. Let's see. Okay, Jennifer Sube, one of the Mod Squad members. You better be careful, Vinnie. And of course, there was a slight delay to the start of this because of my blood sugar issues I was taking care of. And thank you so much. Of course, I am taking care of myself. I feel good. The blood sugar is on the rise, and it will inevitably be high at some point. But
Order in the chat. Order in the chat. Don't dare attack, we've got order in this chat. The Mod Squad is on the job, helping us to keep it clean. The Mod Squad is on the job, always so nice and never.
And a big thank you to Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Soubey, and Ashley Bouchard over on Facebook, the best Mod Squad in the business. All right, come on. Tell me one live stream with a better crew than this. You can't, so don't even try. Big thank you to the Mod Squad helping us out each and every time we are doing this. All right. Kathy Guidry, going out on a limb here. Did the sheriff's wife or daughter ever have court issues with the judge in his chambers? No, not that we know of. And I believe personally, I may be wrong, but I think this connection between the judge and the daughter or wife exists in only one place, and that's in the delusional mind of the sheriff. I think that's the only place it exists. I don't think it existed in real life, but I will ask tonight. I will try to find out. Was there any sort of connection? Was there any reason for him to be angry with the judge for doing something to his wife and daughter? Because there's no doubt the daughter, the wife, it's the last thing he does before he takes action in the chambers, which is that attempted phone call twice from his phone and the judge's phone, right? And it's one of the first things he says when he surrenders himself and is in custody. First he says they, right? So it's not just the judge. There are others involved in this. So who are the others? Are the others who were involved in this scandal in the judge's chambers? Perhaps in real life, or perhaps just in the mind of the sheriff. But those are my thoughts there, Kathy. Thank you so much, Kathy Guidry. Let's see. And Lisa Burton is watching on YouTube. You are the best, and thanks. No, thank you, Lisa, for watching. Great to have you aboard today. Fantastic. All right. Let's see. April Diaz, but was he legally insane the day before? Interesting concept. Thanks so much, April. So this is so when it's successful, when it isn't successful, right? You've got to, number one, explain what the mental disease defect is and when it is manifesting itself. So is it manifesting itself? Let's talk about just before, because there's video of the sheriff. And there's the sheriff, the judge, and there's 2 to 3, sometimes 4 other people in the chambers before lunch. All of them important witnesses about their observations of the sheriff. Their observation, because this is just before. What did he look like? What was he saying? Was there anything off? Co-workers, deputies who were working with him, did they notice anything that day or in the days leading up to it? His wife, his daughter could be important witnesses as well. How was he acting? What was he doing? What was he saying? And remember, a friend of the judge and of the sheriff, the pastor, in the video that he posted early on in all this, talked about mental health. Mental health, is real. Mental illness is real. So, again, you can only be legally insane, and this is an important distinction, April. You can only be legally insane at the time of a crime, right? Because it's the action of committing the crime that brings us to legal insanity, which is, again, is the legal standard, right? Which is about the time. So the question is, was he suffering? The real question is, was he suffering from the same mental disease and defect the day before? The day before that? And if so, why didn't he act on it then? Why is he acting on it at this moment? Those are all things that an expert's going to have to explain. But the actual legal insanity is at the moment and time of the crime. Once you go beyond that, you're there, because part of the equation for insanity, as we went through, was unable to appreciate the wrongfulness of your conduct. So the standard is how we're evaluating your conduct, and your conduct is the criminal conduct that you've been charged with. Thank you, April. Let's see. Now, this is interesting. Danielle Marino, he will take a plea deal that would be in his and his family's best interest. What kind of deal is he going to get? Is there any deal that doesn't put him behind bars for the rest of his life? Like, if I'm the prosecutor, is there any deal that the only deal he would take is if what I was talking about earlier, which is like a judgment of a not guilty by reason of insanity judgment, if everyone agrees that he was insane at the time. But I don't think they do, and I don't think they're going to. Now, this is the red rum of a public official, which makes it eligible for the D pen. So if you're prosecuting a case that you could bring the ultimate punishment to, and you're cutting a deal, would you cut a deal for anything short of him spending the rest of his life behind bars? And would he take that deal? Well, if his expert's saying he's actually legally insane, if that's his expert's opinion, then I think he's going to roll with it. Then I think they're going to roll with it. Okay. Now, this is interesting from Diana. Thank you, Diana Undusky. Hi, Vinnie. I think the sheriff knew what the judge was doing, meaning the whole scandal in his chambers. And I don't know if the judge was a part of it or not. The sheriff was going to tell, and that's why he threatened his family. So what you're saying, Diana, is that this was not delusional thinking. This was an actual threat. Okay. Let's evaluate this under that scenario. If that's what actually happened, is it an insanity defense? No, it's not. If the sheriff knew what the judge was doing and was going to tell, and so if you are reacting to the judge threatening your family, that could be a reduction in mental state, could be like passion provocation, which could be something less than the top charge that he's facing, but it would still send him away for decades, right? Reduced mental state, because it's the only other way he walks away is if the jury says, you know what, this guy deserved a killing because of what he was doing, and then threatening the sheriff's family. The sheriff was justified in doing it. Because it's not going to be it wouldn't be a self-defense or defense of others, because that's got to be like in the moment, not like a threat. Not like a threat, oh, I'm going to get them. Well, I'm going to take you out, and then you won't get her. So the law would look at this and say, well, listen, Mickey, if you are the sheriff and you know about criminal conduct that the judge is involved in, and then the judge is threatening your family, all you need to do is go to the attorney general, or go to the U.S. attorney, go to the FBI, go to the state police. If you believe that's what's happening, that's the way to resolve. If this is the actual situation, that's how you resolve it legally. This way, I don't think it's a complete defense. It can be a defense to the top charge because of the mental state, but does not rise to the state of insanity. But it may very well be the truth. And if this is the truth, the prosecutor could argue that as motive. The prosecutor could turn that around and argue it as motive. Now, it dirties up the judge, obviously, makes him very unsympathetic. But if I'm the prosecutor and that's the actual truth, I'm going to lay the truth out there. Some prosecutors don't. Thank you, Diana. And Daybreak. How likely do you think this will make it to trial or plea or agreement by DA? He is insane. It depends on the expert. I don't know if the prosecution expert has done their evaluation yet. I suspect that the defense expert has, and that's why we have this insanity defense. But I think that's the only way this doesn't go to trial, is if their expert agrees and the prosecution accepts the opinion of their expert. Because I've seen prosecutors who have then gotten a second opinion and gone forward with the case, which is a little problematic, but it's possible. But I think we're going to have a trial unless I hear from that expert. Then they could say, okay, we're going to confine you to an inpatient program and you're going to get treatment up until the time that you are no longer a danger to yourself or others. Thank you so much. All right. Rolling through it. Right. So Loretta Lee. Hello, Blue Eyes. That would be me. Loretta Lee on Facebook. His lawyer said Mickey thought his wife and daughter had already been taken at the time of the shooting. Love from Australia. Right. But I don't think they had actually been. So if that's where he is in his delusion, that's exactly what we're saying here. So if he believes that there's a threat to harm them and they've been kidnapped, and that's kind of what he said in that, they took my wife and my kid, right? That's the statement that's been attributed to the sheriff. So if that's what he believes, and now their lives are in jeopardy, and in his mind, the only way to save their lives is to end this one. That could be, I couldn't help myself. I had to do it. I had to do it. Doesn't have the capacity to take a step back and understand the reality of the situation. Thank you, Loretta. There we go. Jessica, much love from Canada, Vinnie, my favorite OG. Interesting how now with the, thank you so much, Jessica, with the resurgence of true crime all over the place, that I've reached the point of being an OG. How about that? Makes you older, but it really tells you how far we've come in the world of true crime. I remember early days, CourtTV, the internet was just bubbling up, and they would come up to me and say, Vinny, can you go into a chat room? We've got some viewers who are in a chat room. I was like, sure, I'll go in there. I don't understand what these chat rooms are, but I'll do it. And you go in. Now, obviously, it's much more direct, but in the chat room, I'd be there with someone from our digital team back in the day, just around the turn of the century. And, they'd pop up questions like you're doing questions, and then I would give my answer and the digital person would type it in, and we've had this conversation. But back then, like Forensic Files was born, and brought to light on CourtTV years ago. And then, showing Trials, like Trials is true crime and it's reality television merged into one. But it's real reality television, not scripted. Like this is like real lives and real moments that are happening. So I wear that as a badge of honor, being an OG. Wow. Jessica Jackson, Man of Straw. I have a close friend who had an inappropriate relationship with the judge while she was underage. With the judge? This judge? Jessica, we need more information. Please contact the mods. Contact the mods, Jessica. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Have I seen evidence of it yet? No. And what's interesting, in the civil lawsuit that was filed, the judge was not a defendant. It was the sheriff. And the deputy worked for the sheriff. So the sheriff was in charge of training, and, and it was a natural person to sue. The lawsuit against the sheriff doesn't mean he knew what was happening. It could mean he should have known what was happening. But by the same token, should the judge have known what was happening? Because it's an interesting relationship, because the deputy obviously works for the sheriff in the sheriff's department, but is assigned to the judge as his bailiff. So the judge has some responsibilities in managing this bailiff as well. So the bailiff is kind of like serving two bosses at once, the sheriff, from the sheriff's department, but also the judge, because I'm the bailiff in his courtroom. So, but the judge wasn't sued. May have been eventually sued based upon information coming forward. Fancy Nancy. I think the sheriff thinks he will get off. Well, so not guilty by reason of insanity it's not, you don't walk out of the courtroom, but you clearly are treated much differently. You are no longer deemed a defendant. You are a patient. And when you come into court, what happens is, what will happen, especially in a red rum case, someone is found not guilty by reason of insanity, either by both parties agreeing or by a verdict from the jury. He'll be sent to an inpatient program. So he won't be free. It'll be a secured facility, but not a jail. It'll be a secured facility that is like a mental institution where he will get treatment. And then what will happen, every 6 months, 9 months, every year, whatever the rhythm of the appointments is, everyone will come back into court in front of the same judge, and they will have a discussion about how the patient is doing. And the treating physicians will come in and tell the judge how the patient is doing. And based upon their recommendations and the arguments of counsel from both sides, the judge will decide whether or not to lessen the restrictions on the patient. So you could go from being an inpatient, a locked up inpatient facility, to locked up inpatient and you get 1 weekend a month, where you get to leave and go home. Then it could be a week at a time. Then it could be totally released from an inpatient and you become an outpatient. And then eventually you could be doing so well that the judge says, you are released from my jurisdiction. You are a free man. So the impact of a not guilty by reason of insanity is much greater than being found guilty. But it's not complete freedom. But you are not a criminal. You are not a convicted criminal. So you have many more rights. And the test on how you get your freedom is very simple. Are you a danger to yourself or to others? Period. Now, the judge will listen to the treating physicians, and I'll tell you what happens in the real world is that those treating physicians come into court and inevitably will say the patient is responding well to treatment and is getting better, and they will suggest more freedom every single time. I know, because I did this as a prosecutor. I was the one there trying to, let's slow the roll here, Your Honor, because every time in court, every treating physician would come in and tell the judge how great the patient was doing, regardless of what the underlying offense was that got him in that predicament. But they would always, and why do they say that? Because they're the treating physicians. If they come in and say, well, judge, I'm trying everything I can, he's just not getting better. That's like saying, I'm not doing my job. What doctor's going to come in and say, I'm not doing my job? They all say, to different degrees of getting better, but they always say, the patient is responding well to treatment. And we recommend this, this, and this. And it's always more freedom, because the goal for the doctors is to get the patient out and set the patient free so they can live their life again. The other thing that would happen with these patients is once they're released and they're either they're usually outpatients and they go to a clinic once a week or twice a week. They would be pick up their meds, whatever it is. They would fall off the wagon, either not taking their meds or something would trigger, decompensation, and they'd end up in a really bad place. And it happens. It was such heartbreaking work because you knew these were people that were suffering. They needed help. But on the other hand, I'm the prosecutor. I got to keep people safe. They're dangerous too because they've already done something. It's not like they could do. They've already done something. And in some cases, they've taken lives. And people are scared. You know, the families are scared. Coworkers are scared. I lived that life. But I was on the side of being the prosecutor, trying to just slow things down, cross-examine the doctors a little bit, get the judge to understand it's not as rosy a picture as they're painting. Let's just do this one baby step at a time so we know for sure that the patient is getting better and we can keep everyone else safe and secure. It's not like we want them locked up forever, but like, they're in a rush to get them out. So there has to be something pushing back. And that was me. All right, let's get to more comments here. Mm-hmm. Oh, Mary D wants the gavel. Boom. We've got a lot of folks here watching on the CourtTV live stream. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Let's give them a little bit of that. Should we give them what they want? Is it working? The computer's a little slow right here. All right, we bang the gavel. All right, I'm running short on time here because, as you know, I've said it a million times already. Big show tonight. Big show tonight. All right. Just want to scroll, get current. I'm going to try to get current to the current comments. And Gen X thanking Puka Darling. Thank you so much for supporting Vinnie. Thank you, Puka. Where is Puka Darling? Where is the Puka? Did I miss the Puka? Did I miss the Puka Darling? Puka Darling. Anyhow. All right. All right. I think I got them all, right? Did I get them all? Trying to make sure I didn't miss any of the super chats today. I think I got them all. There's no way for me to look at just the super chats. So it's a long scrolling process. All right. All right. I'm good. All right. So let's do this before we run out of time because we are almost out of time. As always. Thank you, Puka Darling. Thank you, Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Soubey, Ashley Bouchard. As always. Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. Not too bad. Mm-hmm. 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 I got an email from work real quick. I got to take care of that. 1 second. So don't forget, Friday we'll have the tangents back on Friday. And I should be back one more day this week. I don't know which day. Depends what happens, what I'm working on, how much time I have, how my blood sugar is as well. It's always an issue. Always. So let's do this. So I was low, but I did not take off quite as high as I thought I was going to go. So I'm doing okay. Yep, I'm doing okay. So I'm doing okay blood sugar wise. Thank you everyone for watching. So it's that time. We're in March. So this is the last 20 days of this quarter. Each quarter, we give out a prize to whoever guesses my blood sugar correctly the most times in one quarter. So we've got Doris, who is a repeat winner. So right now she's the leader But can you catch her is the question. Can you catch her? I'm just getting my list here. 1 second. I have to get my list. My list is right here. I've got it. All right. So, people are guessing already, and I haven't even played the song yet. I don't know if those guesses should count. Should they? They do. They all count. All right. So it's time to guess my blood sugar.
Type 1. He's type 1. His pancreas is on fruits. He has diabetes, type 1 juvenile diabetes. And so it's time to
Anita, fast.
is more or less. What's his blood sugar? What's Vinnie's blood sugar?
Anita, out of the box. That might be a new
Under
record.
70, he gets lightheaded.
We're still going to listen to the song.
Under 60, all the alarms start ringing. Over 180, he starts to get lethargic. But when it's 90, Vinnie, eyes are singing. And so it's time to guess, is more or less. What's his blood sugar? What's Vinnie's blood sugar? But take a guess. Yes, take a guess.
All
Let's
right,
guess
Anita. There you go.
Vinnie's blood sugar now.
So fast. I mean, I just want to make sure no one got it before that. I'm just back scrolling a little bit, but wow. That was like super fast. Congratulations. So, Anita, I think this is your first time winning. I'm checking my list of people, and I do believe this is your first timer. All right. So you got to tune in for the next one. The next time we play the blood sugar game that is absolutely sweeping the internet. Is there a better game show anywhere? Like, honestly, is there a better game show anywhere than guessing someone's blood sugar? Oh, it's pretty fun. I don't know how I thought of it. By the way, Roger had it, but you were a little late, Roger, but good job. Good job, Roger. It's a fair match. See, and our possum friend got it, but again, a little late. Okay, Puka Darling. Here we go. This is what we're talking about. Somewhere I got a recipe for Boston cream pie tarts. Keto friendly. Tastes pretty good, but your gastric system will complain if you eat too many of those mini tarts. All right. Well, I'll be up in at the Karen Reed trial at some moment when it restarts in April. Going to try to get up there for a week. So I don't know if you're up in Massachusetts, Puka, but maybe you can bring some of them Boston cream pie tarts by the live show. That would be amazing. All right. So let's do this. It's time to end. I've got to get, where's the song? I got to find my song. Okay, so I'm going to get the song. So we did have the competition. It was a fair competition, and this is the winner, the official outro song, ladies and gentlemen. Disco came in second. And for those of you who know me, Disco Vinnie, come on. I love disco. I like all kinds of music. It depends on the mood, which is why we mix it up with the different theme songs on the program. So Ashley Bouchard is wanting one of those pop tarts too. Everyone wants them. Maybe what you do is the next time you make them, make a quick video, and we'll just show the video on the show. Why not? Why wouldn't we do that if it's keto friendly? All right. Oh, that's a good idea for a shirt. Did I mention you can go to the Vinnie Originale store? We've got all these great items. Do I have a video on that, don't I? I think I have a video on that. 1 second. I want to show you some of these great items that we have. Some of the great items. Where did I put them is the question. In which file? I think they're in this file. They might be here. Nope. One more spot. Let me just check. If I can't find them, I can't find them. Got to get more organized. I think they're in here. Nope, not in there. Anyhow, you can go to the Vinnie Originale True Crime shop. I'll just show you live. That's the only place where you're going to find one of these babies. The allegedly hoodies and T-shirts. Soft T-shirts, too. Nice and soft. Nice and light. Right here, they come in many different colors. Black, white, Carolina blue, 2 shades of pink. It's amazing. We've just added, I believe, a wine color. Someone recommended a wine color, so we've added the wine color, which I believe is actually garnet in the shop. So enjoy that. It's the Vinnie Originale shop. And what's face, Al is adding products left and right. So here we go. Doris needs a purple velvet suit. I have. I'll wear it. Maybe I'll wear it on the Tangent podcast on Friday. It's not purple, but I got a nice velvet track suit that I can wear for the show. Thank you, Doris. Great idea. Great idea. All right. All right. So that's it, folks. So I'm going to play the outro song, which is an award-winning song, right? It was voted by you, the viewers. This is the viewer's choice for the official outro song. I will see you tonight at 8 o'clock, closing arguments with Vinnie Politan. We'll talk about Lori Daybell representing herself. We're also going to talk about the missing student down in the Dominican Republic. So we've got that at 8 o'clock. Then 9 o'clock, Sheriff Stein's attorney will join me live for the whole hour. So for the first time, we will get a much, much, much better understanding of what happened, but most importantly, why it happened. I'm Vinnie Politan. Have a great day. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
Say goodbye. Thank you for watching Vinnie live. We'll be back, but I don't know when. We hope that you will watch again. Vinnie live. It's Vinnie live. Whoa, it's Vinnie live. To our awesome mosh. Thank you for those super chats. Please hit the like and do subscribe. Let's do it again on Vinnie Live. Now before you go, just one more thing. Please post below, say anything. Before you go, just one more thing. Please post below, say anything.